Greetings, everyone. Jump Mastery requires jump mastery. Today's lesson is everyone is maximizing on their potential. Everyone is maximizing the blueprint that they were born into. And that includes their astrological sign. For example, a Scorpio may be maximizing on the sort of energy that deals with the underworld and secrecy. And therefore, if you are so much as unable to decode their language, their communications, you may be led into a situation that you don't want to be into because you didn't really understand who you're dealing with and what they were maximizing. That's one thing I'd like to share. Another thing is who you deal with and who you listen to puts you on a different treadmill. I get so many lessons from my friend, old pink girl that I know. She's a more mature lady, up in age and whatnot, and our paths have crossed on purpose, and it's divine order. In any case, her approach to things it strikes me as a solution, as a remedy to what I'm dealing with now, pertaining to legalities. But then also the Moorish information, when you get into that cipher and you're dealing with those people, you really get strong, you get strengthened, and you want to stand on your square. And that's important. And then in all of this melee, this confusion, there's some things that stand out as the real sort of solution, remedy, truth to the dilemma one is faced with. But just recognize, like, if I listen to the one friend, I can maximize on what she's saying, and it's like, okay, I'll go ahead and run into the court and just get me a public defender and blah blah, and I get it and blah blah blah. But at the same time, then you got to listen to your oversoul and know, like, what your specific situation is. That's why you got to listen to the oversoul. And then also, if you focus on the Moorish information, there's certain solutions that will come to mind. Because, like, for example, I received some documentation in the mail. First thing comes to mind is like many different things. And depending on whether or not I don't know your habits, but whether or not you like to smoke weed, dank, or eat it, or do other things, will affect, because for some people they might, ingest some herb THC, and it might make them more emotional, and that might not work for you. You might be clumsy when it comes to emotions, especially, like, let's say you're a specific astrological sign that does not typically deal in the emotions, but maybe you're more air sign, you deal in the mental. You might trip up, mess with, get, you know what I'm saying? And vice versa. So you got to understand these mechanics. So, the letter comes, but then later I gave some attention to the Moorish information, and I realized that, damn, okay, they sent me this so-called, notice that something had been filed. What is the proper action? The proper action is to then challenge it with a counterclaim, not as a petitioner, but as a counterclaimant, and seeking proof of their claim, et cetera, et cetera. And so, if you don't know how to navigate, or you don't know really how it's going to work out, that's the trick. You know what I mean? And that's where having friends who have a different perspective and understanding, who have gone through their own trials and tribulations and become, jump masters in their own right, can maybe lend definitely some support. Lastly, I want to offer is that it just occurred to me that, my friend just shared a story. This is a European woman, and she had lived in Africa. I know she did a lot of traveling in Africa, stayed up there on the mountains, and the elders had the kids sing a song to her, she tells me. And the song was sung in African language, and then when it was decoded and deciphered for her, the words was saying, how did she put it? Bless me, bless me with, you know, bless me with a white man or some weird shit. I can't remember the words. I'll probably ask her and then put it in the comments or in the description when I get it, if I get to it. And she was just really horrified by that, and I can understand, you know. Jump masters really, we can get really entranced in third density and the apparent realities of third density. But a jump master is somebody who really is able to access the back doors of the matrix and say, well, shoot, there's a different way to reconfigure this whole thing. You know, there's a way to understand a person's beliefs and integrity, and she's so wise. So I got to put her in a book when we get it published. But yeah, and she wrote a book too. It's called. I don't think I'm gonna. Well, maybe I'll put it in the description. And so see, this is so. She said that she has experienced more racism from, you know, melanated peoples than anything, you know. And I know her and I trust her. And when she said it, it was like, if, you know, I've heard people say this, and I had this white woman say this to me once, because I felt comfortable enough to talk about pro-black issues at her house to a sister, and, you know, she just went off on a rocker. She was like, you're judgmental too, and blah, blah, blah. And she, you know, she didn't really understand my intention or where I was coming from, but nonetheless, it just like really clicked for me that the way that this sickness works is that it's just so, it's very dynamic. This sickness that, you know, Europeans suffer from, the sickness that melanated peoples and all peoples on the planet suffer from. And so this, you know, when I think about empowerment and unification and body politics for a people who wish to preserve their unique identity, nationality, or ethnic heritage, you know, it strikes me that actually the next body politic should be maybe an amalgamation, a blend, because really there's what I call the K2 Albions. You got the K2 Albions and the K8. This is a way of distinguishing Europeans so that we don't clump everybody into the same category and just call them white, and then, you know, put ourselves at odds with whites that are cool versus those who are like Trump and anybody in a black robe. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, those groups, those Nazis, seems to be the ones that really are controlling the levers of the administrative habitat. You know what I mean? And at the end of the day, the good people who want better, those are the you know, that's an issue that's not going to be resolved necessarily around. It can be resolved around, you know, bioethnic division and divisiveness, but I don't think it's going to necessarily be solved and leave us with the happy joy feelings of peace and blessings and prosperity that we would rather have. You know, we just have to look at the scoreboard and design for better solutions, and think about everything from the mindset and the mentalities to the lessons that are of jump mastery, the lessons that are given over for us to explore and to discover for ourselves through this classroom. Anyhow, that's my time. Giga Speed.